apples?
Yeah. I love apples.
I love apples. Oh, look at that. It's all bruised, it's soft, it's mushy. I didn't realize that. I wonder if this is one of my old apples. Well, let me tell you. I have a friend, Kevin. He knows that I like apples too. He knows that I also will take things with, I'll also make things with apples that have already been bruised. You can put these in a smoothie, you can make applesauce with them, you can put them in a pie, things like that. So one day I look out my window and there's my friend Kevin. And he's walking from his van and he's carrying giant bags, okay, up to my back door, and he's dropping them at the back door. He goes back to the van, gets some more. I'm like, Kevin, you're crazy, what's going on? So I run out there, I'm like, hey Kev, what's up? He says, hey Mike, I've got a bunch of apples for you. Well, he had bags and bags of apples, about 100 pounds of apples. And I'm just gonna show you a bag of store-bought apples. They weren't store-bought apples, but they were apples that came from a tree in his backyard. And unfortunately, about 50% of them, or about 50 pounds, had already started to get bruised, because they had fallen from the tree. A lot of worms were in the apples. And so I took half of the apples and I was able to use them for certain things, and I took the other half and threw them in my garden. And I just buried them with soil. Well, the other day, I'm digging in the garden, getting it ready for my spring planting, and I'm digging and I remembered about the apples. So I start looking for the apples, and I dig right where we had buried the apples, and I didn't find any apples. So I dig again, I dig over here, no apples. I could not find the apples. You already have your hand up, I didn't even finish the story. Wait a minute, so what happened?
They decompose into the soil.
They decompose into the soil. What do you guys all have the same idea or different ideas? Okay, yes.
Well, same idea, and also, since there's like worms in the apples, the worms probably just like decompose the apple into like it. Shoot, I can't explain it.
Keep going.
Decompose the apple, which now will help the soil and help make the flower or help your garden grow more.
Okay, great. So you've got the worms in there that are contributing to decomposing the apples. Yes?
I think the word he was trying to say is the worms turn the apples into compost.
The worms turn the apples into compost. Great ideas. What I would like you to do right now is just turn and talk to a neighbor. What do you think happened to the apples? Go.
They turned into tiny
Okay, fantastic. When you hear the bell today, that means stop, look, and listen. I need your attention. So what were some of the discussions you guys had? We mentioned decompose, we mentioned worms. Was there anything new that came about? Any other words that you guys used? Because I did hear the word decompose a lot. Yes?
Well, there was, oh man, I lost that thought.
Okay. If it comes back to you, put your hand up again. Yes?
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer. Okay, good. So the word fertilizer. Any other words that came up in that quick pair share? Anything else? Okay. Well, what I decided to do for us to investigate this a little bit further, since I was digging in the garden, I figured, you know what? Why don't I bring some of that soil in? So what I did was I brought some of the things that were right on that spot where the apples were buried. And I have a shovel here, a little shovel, and I have a tub, okay? And it says,
Garden soil.
Okay, good. So this tub, in this tub, I'll put the garden soil. And, let's see, here's some grass that had already started to grow. And then, of course, there's some leaves on top. A lot of the leaves were up on top of the soil, not below. But I'm gonna dump this soil in this container. And this is the soil that was exactly where the apples were buried. And I actually dug deep to try to find the apples. I didn't find apples, but maybe if you take a closer look, you'll be able to find evidence of the apples. I don't know, what kind of evidence might you find? If the apples are still here, what might you find? Yes?
Seeds.
Seeds, okay. Good. Yes, in the back.
Maybe like a couple just small parts that didn't decompose yet.
Excellent, some parts that didn't decompose yet. Yes?
Worms.
Worms. So a worm is not part of the apple. Could that be evidence that decomposition took place?
Yeah.
Okay. On the way to a baseball game, I stopped off at a local patch of forest and ran in. I probably looked really funny running in and then running out with a bag full of stuff. People are probably wondering what I was getting. But you know what? As a teacher and for the sake of learning, I am not fearful of doing stuff like that. So the forest soil, is it going to be the same as the garden soil?
No.
So you can make some predictions. What might you find in the forest soil, or even find more of, that you wouldn't find in the garden soil? Yes?
More leaves.
More leaves. Okay, great, from the trees. Yes?
More apple seeds.
More apple seeds?
Yeah.
Okay, possible. Yes?
You won't see as much grass.
Not as much grass in the forest. Okay, great. So you guys can continue with those ideas and start making those predictions. What might you find different in the forest soil? But I did not stop there, ladies and gentlemen. No? As I was in the forest, I saw something else that I thought was pretty cool. That might be fun to look at. It is actually a
Rotting log. Rotting soil.
a rotting log. Now the word rotting, what's another way of saying rotting, or what do you think rotting means? Yes?
Decomposing.
Yes, great. Decomposing. What are you thinking?
Spoiled.
Spoiled. Oh, the log got spoiled. Okay, so that's interesting. If you had food in the refrigerator and it started to rot, what would you say about that food?
It's spoiled.
Yes, you'd say it's spoiled. So is spoiling the same as rotting?
Yeah. No.
Wait a minute.
Wait, no.
Because that's
That means it's old.
Doesn't mean it has to be old. So if you see food spoiling in the refrigerator, spoiling, rotting, could it also be decomposing?
Yeah.
Something to think about. Okay, this is the rotting log. Okay, it was a whole log, about this long, and now it's broken up into pieces. So what you can do with this, you can actually break these apart at your table and start examining inside. Don't worry about getting stuff on your hands. We'll be able to clean our hands at the end of class. Okay, well, you can also smell it too. That's a great idea. Smell it. What does it smell like? Does it smell stinky? Does it have some kind of an odor that's offensive?
Oh, it has cricket.
A bug.
It's not a cricket. That's like a.
Ah.
One of those.
So,
Yeah.
so a roly-poly you mentioned, could that be evidence of decomposition happening here?
Yes.
Yes. So if it's evidence of decomposition, that bug might be a decomposer, like a worm. So worms are decomposers. Are there other animals that could be decomposers?
Yes.
Fantastic, good. So what you're going to do today is actually, you're going to get to use the microscope to examine these different soils for evidence of decomposition or decomposing or decomposers. Yes?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is any part of this, like, roly-polies sometimes have short lives? Is any of the log decomposing humus?
Humus. What is humus?
It's like dead animals and
combine together into a rich organic matter. Yes, yes, so compost, a fertilizer-rich compost. Okay, so yes, exactly. That's another great word, humus. And so that's something that maybe, don't get it confused with hummus. Yes. So yes, that's another word, and that would be a great word for investigating later as well. So that's a good example of humus. All right, so let me show you how to work the microscope. At each table, there'll be a computer and a microscope. Okay, you're going to plug the microscope into the USB port on the side of your computer. And I know most of you have used this microscope probably a couple of years ago if you came to the Discovery Center. On the side of the microscope, there is a light switch. So we just turn that on. The microscope will magnify things by 50 times. So it makes things look 50 times larger than they really are. Down at the bottom of the computer, on the screen, there's an icon or a picture that looks just like the microscope. So you click that once, it'll open up the program that works with the microscope. Wait a moment, and then the screen should show the image from the microscope. Now, when you use the microscope, this doesn't belong up on the face or anything like that because of the bright light. Just use the microscope for looking at the different types of soil that we have. This one, of course, is taking a little while, and there it goes. So what you're gonna do, you can put the items down on a paper plate. Each table has supplies, paper plates, and forks that you can use to break apart things. If it's easy enough to use the forks, if it's not, if it's easy, just use your fingers, okay? You take the microscope and you put it right up against the object that you want to magnify. Now that looks a little blurry right now. I'm gonna see if I can change the focus. The only thing you need to do to change the focus is making sure that this is elongated or as long as possible. I'll go around to the tables and make sure they're all focused. But put it right up against the object that you're magnifying that you want to take a closer look at. And you can actually see the grains of that decomposing wood. Okay? Keep looking around. Be patient with this. Okay, can you guys back behind the blue tape, please? Be patient with this. So I'm just holding it here. I'm gonna try a different part of the log, a different part, and a different part. Now, I'm not sure what you're going to discover, but as you discover things, make sure you share your discoveries with each other. I'll be going around the room, assisting, guiding wherever is needed, and trying to answer questions that you guys have. Now, a couple things. Don't put anything inside the microscope. Like I said, just right up against the microscope, that's the best thing. I'm going to show you, let's see, we'll have the rotting log matter here, we'll have the garden soil here, and we will have the forest soil here on this table, okay? And with each set of soil, there'll be some containers that you can use to help you get the soil. Containers here, and there will be, I'll put a big spoon, okay? Remember, don't eat the humus, it's not hummus, okay? And I'm gonna task you with something else, because like I said, I want you guys to share your discoveries and share your ideas. Science has a lot to do with sharing our discoveries. I want you guys to communicate. You're going to use an iPad today to share your discoveries, and this is what I want you to do. Okay, number one, you're going to explain what decompose means. Okay, in other words related to decomposition, decomposer, decomposing. Number two, explain why you are examining the soil. And then number three, show 3 pieces of evidence that relate to the word decompose. Now, since I haven't worked with you directly with the iPads, I am not 100% familiar with how much experience you have. So you can use either video or still photos. On the iPad, I've got the photo button or the camera button right there for you. There's also a program called Skitch. Are you any of you familiar with Skitch?
No.
You can actually try that today.